All right, everybody. Good morning. Happy Thursday. Hope you guys are doing well. And now it's time to talk about the upcoming series for Thursdays. And this is going to be all about the pass coverage, the pass defense. This is something we did last year. I think it worked out great. I think this stuff is really important, really key. So we're not going to deviate from it. And this is going to be a little more probative. This is going to be a little more digging deep into each player and talking about how they're holding up in coverage. So you have your base level box score stats for pass coverage, right? Which is basically just passes defensed and interceptions. But there's a whole universe of pass coverage data beneath just those numbers. How often are you getting targeted? How often are you allowing a completion? How many of those yards you're giving up in coverage are air yards and how many are yards after the catch? What is your QB rating when targeted? There's honestly a few more things you could go into here, but we're just going to start here for now. And for each player on the Seahawks defense that is likely to end up in pass coverage more than once or twice this season, we're going to track how they do. Who is the weakness in pass defense? Who are the strengths? Who are playing well? What are the areas that need to be improved on? Who needs to play better? All these things, we're going to figure it out. And we're going to be using PFR, which I generally prefer to do if possible. PFR, I think they're a little more harsher with their grading and their scoring. I think they put a little more effort into it. I prefer to PFF a little bit. When possible, I prefer to go with them, so we'll be going with their data, and we're going to use their data to find pass coverage data on each player. So you look at our categories: targets, self-explanatory; completions allowed, self-explanatory, and from that we get a completion percentage; yards allowed in pass coverage, air yards allowed in pass coverage, and yards after the catch. So air yards plus yards after the catch equals total number of yards. This can kind of indicate whether or not a player is allowing a lot of plays deep down the field, or if they're allowing a lot of short plays that go for long runs after the catch, which might not necessarily be that player's fault because another player may have missed the tackle. So there's nuance there. Touchdowns allowed in coverage, interceptions made in coverage, and probably the overall most important number, QB rating when targeted in coverage. So you put all this together, you're going to have a really good idea who is actually doing well in coverage and who is not. So this video series will help us get an idea of who's really getting it done. Linebackers. Linebacker has been an area where we've been picked apart in coverage the last several years, I feel like. Wagner's back. We got Devin Bush. Jordan Brooks will join them eventually. You got Radigan. You got V. Jones. Again, this fourth spot could go either way. Remember, this is just a template. Understand that when the season actually starts, we're going to place in the players who are actually playing and actually getting into coverage situations. So Radigan, pure placeholder. Whoever ends up making the team as the fourth inside linebacker actually gets here. So with that being said, that's your linebackers. Very important to see how these guys do. Edge rushers. Edge rushers in a 3-4 defense will occasionally find themselves in coverage. They should. If they don't, then it's not really a 3-4 defense in the way it was intended to be run, because the point of a 3-4 defense is that it's hard to read and tricky for offenses. And if your edge rushers are always rushing, that's predictable. So you got Nwosu, Mafe, Taylor, Hall, and Tyreek Smith. Pretty self-explanatory and easy there. Now you get to the really interesting stuff, though, the fun stuff. Like, honestly, even though there should be some improvement this year, this is probably not going to go terribly well for us. Wagner is not the player that he used to be in coverage. He's not as fast as he used to be. Brooks is not good in coverage, particularly zone coverage. Devin Bush, maybe. I think Devin Bush could be good in coverage, but we'll have to see. He's still, in his own way, trying to make his way back from that devastating injury. So linebacker is going to be interesting, but it might not be fun. Cornerback should be fun because now you've got Tariq Woolen in year 2 ready to take this leap from where he was last year, where he was already really good. His coverage metrics were great last year. And now you've got Devin Witherspoon. And it might take Devin Witherspoon a while to really get to the point where he's comfortable out there, unfortunately. But Devin Witherspoon is capable of being every bit the lockdown corner that Woolen was, maybe even more so. Tariq Woolen was a 5th round pick. Devin Witherspoon was a 5th overall pick. So that could be really fun. We got Mike Jackson here as well. I think he's going to get to play a decent amount. Trey Brown might get to play a little bit, and Kobe Bryant's got a chance as well. Now, Kobe Bryant is a guy who may end up playing at safety a little bit as well, but again, it's the player. It's not necessarily where they're playing that's of the biggest concern. It's the fact that the player's out there. So, cornerback could be really juicy. And if all goes according to plan, both Woolen and Witherspoon are going to have great coverage metrics, and opposing teams, in order to attack our defense, are going to have to try to exploit our linebackers. And they may be able to do that with some degree of success, but as long as it's not a complete slaughterhouse like it's been occasionally in previous years, it should be good enough for us to win a lot of games. And then, of course, we have safeties. We have Jamal Adams, Quandre Diggs, Julian Love, and Jarek Reed. Now, again, Jamal Adams will probably play a little bit of linebacker this year. And Julian Love, I don't know where he's going to play. Is he going to play slot? Is he going to play safety? Is he going to play linebacker? He's going to play all over the place. Could Joey Blunt get involved as the season goes on? Absolutely. But we're just going to stick them here for now and see where things go. But honestly, Jamal Adams, when you put him in the right situations, can be very good in coverage. There are circumstances where he's not good in coverage, but if you put him in the situations where he's moving forward, he's moving towards the line of scrimmage, and he's not turning his back to the line of scrimmage and not having to chase players, he's very good in coverage. Quandre Diggs, his coverage metrics are pretty much always really good, and he's making interceptions. Even last year, which I don't think was Quandre Diggs' best year, I think his coverage metrics were fine. And Julian Love has proven himself as a pretty good cover player as well. So you look at this array of talent we have in this area of the team, the cornerback and the safeties, it should be hard to push the ball down the field on us. The real problem is going to be these linebackers. Because, again, when teams go up against our secondary and see how much we've got going on back here, I do think they're going to say, look, we got to attack these linebackers. Wagner's older and slower. Devin Bush could go either way. And obviously when Jordan Brooks gets on the field, he's a liability in coverage for the most part. But you look at what we have going on in this secondary, you should be pretty excited. This should be pretty appealing. This should be something that is a certain strength of this team. If they're not, then something's gone terribly wrong. And throughout this, through this series, throughout the year, we're going to keep track of how things are going. So that is it for the Thursday video, the weekly Thursday video. This is another video that may occasionally come out in the afternoon and not the morning. Just kind of depends, because the data sometimes takes a while to release. But once it releases, I'll be putting it here, and we'll be able to look at it in a easy and understandable form. All right, so that's it for our Thursday plans this year. Let me know what you guys think. I will see you guys later. Go Hawks!